know you. Were you born and raised in Nigeria?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so you're born and raised in Nigeria. So give me more about, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about your childhood because every time like I'll get into the childhood of us here, and it's totally different, like different culture, different background. So I want to know
Yeah.
your background, and did you have a two-parent household, one-parent household, siblings, cousins, and how did y'all gather around? How did y'all have fun? Like, what are your fondest memories, and what are some of your inspirations? What type of shows did y'all watch? What type of music did you listen to? Like, I want to get into the childhood memories of Olubumni.
All right. So I I come from a family of I have four siblings,
Four
and
siblings.
sadly my parents, yeah, sadly, so I have three brothers.
Okay.
Sadly my parents separated when I was quite young. I think that was when I was 11 years old. And I started, we had to, so before then, we really didn't go to church. We were just, we stayed home and we did things. And my dad, too, was a lover of music. We always listened to Michael Jackson. We heard a lot of beautiful old classic songs, Sam Cooke, like all those beautiful songs. And when things went south between my parents, my mom went to God for the first time, and so we had to go to church. And after some months in the church, we were in the adult church, and they were like, "Oh, as children, we're very disinterested in what was going on at the time. We just wanted to play." I and my immediate sibling, he's also here in the US. He's a military man, actually. And
Hmm.
so we were here, we're like, playing in the church and making a lot of noise. And someone walked up to my mom and said, "Why don't you take your children to the teenage church? Like, they'll feel more happy there. There are things there for children to do." And so I went over, and one day, two beautiful ladies were singing behind me, and I've never heard it other than hearing my dad play his music. I just knew anytime he was playing music, I sit down. I was no longer interested in playing, but I really couldn't
Mm.
understand why that was the case. So when they were singing, I turned back and I'm just listening to them, with so much attention. And after doing that every week, I was always looking forward to them singing because we did have a few minutes before the church started then. So I'll just let them sing for me. And one day they asked me to sing with them, and I did. And they said, "Oh, wow, she even knows how to sing on pitch." And that was the first time I heard that. I was like, "Pitch? What does that mean?" And they were like,
What is that?
"Yeah,
Yeah.
never mind. Like, you were not going flat, you were not
What
going
is it, by the
sharp."
way? You quickly tell me what it. Quickly tell me what that is.
You mean the flat, the
Pitch.
pitch? Yeah. So when someone is singing on a certain key, you can also match that key. You're not like singing on another key. So
Oh,
like,
that's
"Oh, she can
pitch.
sing on the key."
Okay,
Yeah, on
got
the
you.
same. So
Okay,
that's what we call it
okay.
pitch. Yeah. So if I'm hitting a
Okay.
do, I want you to be able to also sing do. I don't want to say do. I say oh, do. That's not matching the pitch.
That's
So
off pitch. Okay.
yeah, that's off
Hmm.
pitch. So
Got you.
we started doing that every Sunday, and after a while, I was introduced to the choir, and I started going. But at the time, because my dad had left at the point, and my mom was a full housewife at the time, we were struggling financially. But every time I told my mom I had to go to rehearsal, to like, there's no transportation, and I'm like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna have to walk to church." And I didn't hesitate. I was always looking forward to weekends to go for rehearsals, and so the passion just grew from there for me. And after a while, I began to look into other styles of music. We had people who came over to teach us more music, started delving into classical music, every other style of music. And after a while, one day I was singing and someone told me and said, "Your voice will sound beautiful on Negro spirituals." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Okay,
Okay.
well." And at that time, I was really more into classical music. So I was really wondering where that was coming from. And as time progressed, with the help of my father and the Lord in our church, Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries, I was able to get certain songs. And gradually, I was getting to understand the style of music that kind of suited my voice. Songs like, Mahalia Jackson,
Hmm.
Pace
Hmm.
Sisters, and all those really beautiful classic songs of people then. So the kind of songs I really did listen to back then was really more of classical music, Handel, Messiah, Mahalia Jackson. I listened to, also we did listen to Mary Mary, listen to, of
Okay.
course, Kirk Franklin. I mean, we always did listen to him. And then a little bit of um, in between, we had some people who was in and out of gospel music here and there sometimes. So it kind of
Okay, she just froze on us. Oh, yeah, she just froze. Yeah, God, I was getting so into it, but I yeah. So let's just hopefully she'll be able to recover from that freeze real soon. But yeah, I really hope that you're enjoying this so far as much as I am. You know, I really appreciate her her master class on vocal on the vocal experience. Yeah, but you know, she's kind of frozen right now. So I think you need to if you can go out and come back in, if you can still hear me. Okay, yeah, so hopefully she'll be out. She's going out and she'll come back in. But I really hope that you're enjoying this experience with me, you know, because I've always looked forward to wanting someone to come on my platform who is able to give us, you know, to give us just, you know, just what we need when it comes to, you know, when it comes to your voice, when it comes to the music, when it comes to the singing, and how we can incorporate that. Yeah. So yeah, you froze there. Okay, now you're back. Yeah, yeah, so,
Yeah,
yeah, you was,
sorry, I wonder what happened.
you was froze for a little while, but, the last thing last thing I heard was you was talking about how, you was listening to, you was inspired by different, vocalists like Mary Mary and, Mahalia Jackson, and how, you
Yeah,
know, when you were growing up in a church and, you
yeah.
know, you was got it, but, what I also wanna know, not just about your musical influences, which is great, by the way. I also want to get more into your childhood. I want to get more into those memories, what you know, what y'all were into, because we, you know, like I said, here it's different type of background, you know. You know, like I don't know whether you had bunk beds, or I don't know whether you had bologna sandwiches, or you know, I don't know if you had like palace on the floor and a bunch of cousins in the house, and y'all were just you know, playing, fighting over the TV, or you know, cereal in the morning, or some people's beginnings are different. So I want to know, like, in your, for coming from when you grew up, what's some of those childhood memories that you could think of that you could share with us?
So actually, a lot of people do have the wrong information about Nigeria.
Yes,
A
so
lot of
yes,
people
let us
think it's
school
just
us.
from sleeping on the floor and stuff. No, I had a very beautiful life as a young child with my family. I did have a bed. Um, my father was doing very well. He worked in a company. We call it Nitel back then, a telecommunication company. So
Okay,
we were doing very well financially. We had cars. We had a very good life. We traveled a lot. We had burger. We had things like that. So we had a very good childhood. That I actually had it with my siblings. It's a little bit different because we had quite well, let's say like a big age gap between us. I mean, between just my
what's the age
immediate
gap?
brother and I are close in age. So for my immediate brother, it's just 3 years, but the one after that is 9 years, and then the next one is 13 years. So there's a
Okay,
lot.
yes,
So
gap,
yeah,
yeah.
so we didn't get to fight much with about TV and stuff because we were at different stages in life. So my childhood was beautiful, and we had the good things of life growing up. However, that changed when my father was out of the picture. We
Mhm.
had to start all over. And at that point, the family had to go different ways. My brothers, because my mom and I and my immediate brother had to go and squat with my mom's cousins. So everyone couldn't be together again. So my two immediate brothers, senior brothers who were already adults at that point, had to go stay in different places. So we didn't really live together for so long to really get to that point where were fighting over things. So when he left, yeah, things were tough. I'm going to say things were really tough, but we have always learned to be contented. And that's one of those things I'm very grateful to my mom for teaching me what is mine is mine. I don't look at what anyone has. I don't care how rich or poor you are. I don't really, it doesn't matter to me. I'm always more about what I can get done by myself for myself. That's always like
Gotcha.
my main
Mhm.
focus.
Mhm.
Yes, so childhood was mixed with both good and bad. The bad obviously came after my father left, and
Right.
that's one of those things I always pray that others don't encounter, children, because it has a way of kind of messing with one's
Absolutely.
emotion and
Yes.
psychological well-being. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was easy for me to gravitate towards music, because it just occupied my
Yes.
time. It was just my form of comfort to me. I looked forward to it every weekend, kind of took away that thought, because I mean, being very close to your father and then suddenly he's out of the picture, it was one of those things that shook me to the point that I was like, even till now, I'm like, I'm not going to let anyone in to that
Mm.
point where you can just walk away one day and then leave me stranded like my father did.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
but
So
when it
your
comes,
father
yeah,
wasn't after I'm sorry, excuse me. Because I just wanted to insert I just wanted to ask you, so your father wasn't a part of your life after the separation? He wasn't present?
after the separation, absolutely, and that was the last time I saw him,
Oh, I'm
and I think that was
sorry.
in 1997. And even when
Mm.
I got married, it's okay. And I tried to reach out to him forcefully. Obviously, my mom was like, reach out to him and let
Mm.
him come through. And he said it, straight up that, okay, congratulations, but I will not be coming. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. So
Mm.
even though he passed
Mm.
away 2 years ago, sadly, the last time I saw him before he passed away 2 years ago was in 1997.
Mm.
So yeah.
I wonder
So that's
why.
again one of the
Mm.
things they can say, that music is therapeutic. For me, kind of, it was just my therapy. I don't think at that time, never thought about it that, oh, when you can go to a therapist, like you're feeling this kind of hurt. But for me, music just gave me that therapy I needed to, like, learn to live
Yeah.
life without him in the picture.
Yes.
So, but overall,
Mm.
my life as a child was good, and even though he left, my mom still tried so hard to provide for us, and
Yes.
we were doing okay. So, that thought about how Nigeria is not a thing. I mean, I'm sure when a lot of
Right.
people do
No,
come,
because but don't get me wrong. I mean, I haven't been to
I
Nigeria,
know, right?
Olubumni, but I'm very much aware that Nigeria is very much it's very like I mean we are like steps
Yeah,
behind. We are way behind, and when it comes to industrialism, when it comes to fashion, I love the fashions.
fashion and entertainment. Yeah, we love
Yes, I
things.
mean
Yeah,
yes.
so
We are
yeah,
way
so
behind here. To me,
yeah.
and I'm gonna give you, and pardon my
I
French,
won't
but
I won't say you're
compa-
behind. I won't say you're
no, we
behind. You're
are. No,
definitely
I'm
not
telling you, when
behind.
it comes to certain parts of, this is just me. When it comes to certain parts of Africa, US ain't shit. But I'm just saying, that's just, I'm just saying, I'm just in certain parts, in certain aspects, not everything, but certain aspects, you know. I'm just, I'm just saying. Yeah, so but yeah, but I just that's why I said I wanted to make sure that, we kind of steer clear of some of the stereotypes that may be implied in certain, from certain people. So yeah, but
Yeah.
no. But compared to most people, we ain't got nothing
Uh,
on
if
labels. We
you
ain't got
say
nothing on
so.
labels. Yeah. But let
But
me
the life was good.
yeah, so let me get you I want to get a little bit into cuz I'm trying to get as much as I can from this because I want to get more into your journey, your personal journey. Can I get more into your school, your formative years, your school years? I like to get into the elementary. Was it your elementary, junior high school? Because a lot of
Yeah,
times a lot of us don't understand how pivotal that time is. So I always like to get into the elementary and junior high school because
yeah,
everybody focus on college or high school, but no, the most formative years is elementary, junior high school because that's where you develop your social skills. You're becoming more
yeah.
familiar with yourself and your anatomy. You
Mm-hmm.
getting acne. You're you
Yeah,
know you're getting into the opposite sex.
yeah.
You may be helping on the staircase. Things things like that. I want to know like
Yeah.
how was that for you at that time?
Again,
Elementary,
very
high.
easy. Well,
It
so
was
when I
easy.
started, evidently, we start with nursery school here, though some people start with what we call kindergarten.
Kindergarten.
So I can't really remember anything from then, so I don't
Right.
know if I
It's
did.
whatever you can
But
remember.
yes, nursery, easy. Primary school, it was again really good. I all my education all the way to first degree was all in Lagos, Nigeria. So I had my primary school in where I call Bagada is in Lagos as well. Bagada, and was called, I don't know if it's still called that now, but it was called Prime Rose Nursery and Primary School.
Primrose.
Um, Prime Rose, yeah, Prime
Primrose.
Rose. Yeah, and I did primary 1 to 5 at the time. I think that's what you call your year 1 to year 5. And then I skipped what we call the primary 6 and went to GSS 1. And then, so I went from a private school in my primary education. And when I got to secondary education, we moved to public schools. And not
Okay.
because my parents were not financially okay then, my dad was still around. But at the time, we'll say public schools were still really top notch. I mean, a lot of our great leaders did come from
Yeah,
public schools. So
absolutely.
yeah, so I did stay there till when it was GS3, and then that was when my father left at the time. So it was really very easy. Just go to school, study, come home. It was just very easy. Again, like I said, my childhood was very good. I'm not one of those people that can sit down and say, "Oh, this bad thing happened to me." Like, it was very easy. And coming home as well, I didn't have stress. My immediate brother, we were very close. We're still very close till this day.
Hmm.
And it was very easy, but then things changed when I got to what we call our SS1, which I think should be I think that should be year 10. Excuse me. And that was when the change kind of happened, because then the financial struggle started, and then
Mm,
things we used to be able to afford, we couldn't
right.
afford. But even though
Hmm.
education was free, there were certain things that were not free. There were certain curricular activities that were not free, that we couldn't really have access to. So, and then I was able to go through the secondary education and finished, and then I moved to the university, but I didn't study music. But at that SS1, I was already very into music. So everything that mattered to me then was really more music. So when I'm done with school, I just want to head home, and do my
Right.
music thing. So again, I just feel like I started really living to really enjoy everything I was doing when I started going to church to sing, which was in SS1 at the time. And so when I got to university, I didn't study music in the university. I studied education,
Oh, you
economics
studied.
education.
Oh, education.
Yes,
Okay. What
yeah,
school did you go to? What college?
the, yeah. The University of Lagos is a very
And what?
popular university
Okay.
in Nigeria. Yeah,
Okay.
University of Lagos. I went to the University of Lagos, and I graduated in the year 2009. And again, it was very easy. It was very close to church, which made it even easier. I mean,
Yeah,
when I'm
right.
not in lectures, if you don't see me in the lecture room and they ask where's Bumi, my friends will say, yeah, if she's not here, she's most likely in church. Like, that was really it for me. Music was like the core. And I really, now I think about it, I was wondering why I didn't actually think about going to university to study music. But I guess it was for a reason,
Yeah, because let
because
me
I'm
ask
not
you,
saying
it
the
was for a
reason.
reason. It had to have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so, because I want to insert that real quick because when you say that you studied education, like what was your aspirations at that time? What was your overall objective as far as once you started studying and you took up a major education? What did you want to be? What did you had in mind at the time as a
So to be
career?
honest, at the time, my thought process was just to be a lawyer. I
Okay.
happened to be in that part of life because they said then there's an exam we do, we call it JAM, and that's an exam that we use as a supplement with what we our leaving school certificate. So when you're done with SS3, then you had an exam you have to do. We call it WAEC. When you do that, that is not sufficient enough to get you into the university. You need to have that JAM exam result as well. So when I did that, there was a cutoff mark that we were required to be able to be admitted to certain courses. So I happened to not meet the one I intended to go for, which was law. And then I tried to say, okay, let me do pure economics, since that was something else I'd love to do. I loved anything that has to do with accountability, things like that. I was very good
Mhm.
at it at that time. I
Got
felt
you.
I would fit very well into economics. So I tried to do that as well. And they said, oh, my result was still below the expected mark to get into that course. And so I'm like, okay, what else is my option at the time? And I didn't want to stay home any longer at that time because I'd been home for 2 years after I finished my senior secondary school.
Okay.
because I was unable to like get the admission. I mean, University of Lagos was like really one of those schools that was like everybody wanted to go there. So I was like, I'm not going anywhere else. I want to stay here in Lagos. I will try the next year. And so when they gave me the option of the economics education, I'm like, okay, well, I'll take it. I mean, I'm already doing something like that already. While I was waiting to get into university, I was already teaching in a primary school. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'm doing that already and I love it. Let me just go ahead and do it. And since it still has that economics there, that means I'm
Right.
still going to be doing economics, but this time around I'll be able to teach others economics. And so I went ahead and went for it. So initially that was not where I intended to go
Right.
um
Right.
in university. Yeah.